In this last part of the geologic mapping tutorial for planetary surfaces, I'm going to go ahead and draw in my units. Now, sorry, if I were you, I would not do this in Sharpie first. Not wise. I would use a pencil or something erasable. Don't hop in for Sharpie. I'm going to hop in for Sharpie just because I can. All right. So what you want to do, or what I try to do first, is look for areas that I am the most sure about. Okay, so here for me, I feel like I can identify these cliff facing units really well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to trace the top of my cliff unit, which is going to be the contact between my cliff unit and my light highlands unit. Just take your time. This is the artsy part. If you were doing this professionally, you'd do it in ARC or in another GIS. And then I'm going to trace the bottom of this unit. The bottom of the unit is going to be the contact between this unit and the feathery light materials unit that's the debris coming off the side of the cliff. All right, now notice when we get here in shadow, we can't actually tell where the side of the unit is. So at this point, I'm just going to start dashing where I think it goes. And when I can see it again, I'll pick it up again. All right, the next unit I'm going to do is this feathery unit. I'm going to come right down off of here. And as you can see, there's not really a clean break. So I'm going to dash that unit boundary. But there is more. Maybe I think I messed this up just a little bit, but that's okay. Then I've got a little bit of dark floor material. This is a sharper boundary. So what I'm drawing right now is the contact between the valley floor material and the light middle ridge. When you have these surface units, it's going to be okay for them to do what's called pinching out. That's fine. And then I've got a area where I can start to see those side cliff deposits again. Start tracing those in. Notice they get really sparse. Then they kind of open back up. You're just tracing the boundaries based on what you wrote about in your description. Some of these areas, this cliff facing unit is going to get really, really thin. Okay. Now, I've got this unit up here. Some of you are going to get the tracing a structure fever, and you're going to want to come in here and draw a big circle around that impact crater. Don't do that. If you want to highlight other features within a unit, you can do that in a lighter color and just say, for example, in your legend down here that your dark black Sharpie is maybe your unit boundaries. And let's say you've got a finer tip Sharpie, or a gray Sharpie would be awesome for this. And then you could say that this is your crater structures or crater rims. And then you'd come through here. If you decided to map rims, you would just trace the rim. If you decided that you were going to map the whole crater, then you'd want to go for crater and crater materials. You'd want to be outlining that, all of that area. Okay. So I've got this area pretty much mapped. I'm going to give myself one more boundary right here for a cliff facing unit. And if I were doing this in class or doing this to turn in, I'd go ahead and finish this out. But for now, we're going to transition into the coloring phase. So let's go ahead and get this colored in. You pick one color per unit, and then you can start to do that. I'm going to color my highlands kind of a purpley blue. I don't color so dark that I can't see some of the material underneath. So I kind of act like it's a way to shade the surface, but not obstruct the view of it completely. I like to see where my impact craters and stuff are. If you're going to also color that way, just make sure that you're picking really distinct colors. If you pick shades of pink, for example, it's going to be really hard once you start just making them very light to tell them apart. So just know that's a thing. I like to pick diverging colors, and if you don't know how to pick diverging colors, there's a tool called Color Brewer online. You could just go to colorbrewer.org, and then you can start to look for different color palettes, and you can actually choose diverging color palettes to kind of see what those colors would be. I also tend to pick, especially for just planetary mapping in class, I pick colors that are really contrasting to be units that are right next to each other, so that when I share my material with students, they can really see those color differences. And if you have units that are genetically related, you might want to color them in different shades of the same color. But like here, you can tell I colored in that blue, and I would maybe have to go back and do the other one a little bit darker, because this light blue and this dark blue, even though it's darker, since I shaded lightly, it's not, they kind of look more the same color than what I would be comfortable turning in. All right. So there you have it. So you would just keep that going, and then you want to make sure that wherever you write your final descriptions, that you also include your coloring key. So on wherever you've got like a cleaned up table, that's where you're going to go in and put those final answers.